Since I've done a list of some of the most overpowered characters in anime, I'd like to refine things just a little bit. How about we talk about what I think are the top shows that feature an overpowered protagonist? Okay, so before we do this, let's get some qualifiers out of the way first. When I mean overpowered, what I mean is something more literal in meaning to the word. So yeah, super geniuses and gamer pros don't count. Sorry, Sora. Oh, and we're only going to be covering isekai titles too, so sorry, Godsuya. So with those qualifiers in, which shows make the cut? Let's find out. Now, here's something that I haven't talked about much. Quite the surprising thing considering how much I actually enjoyed Cautious Hero, both for its catchy opening, complete with the meme dancing in the chorus, and its hilarious characteristic dynamic between our hero and blonde Aqua. Just kidding. Sorry, Restarte. Anyway, as the title implies, the gimmick of this isekai is our hero, Seiya, being the type of person who's overly cautious. Over-leveling, overstocking on items, nothing may seem to be enough precaution for him before diving in a twist that makes him completely different from most overpowered protagonists that go gung-ho. That's basically the gist of this isekai and its repeated joke. What I like about the series is that it's quite different from the usual action isekai in that it leans heavier on sitcom tier comedy. Yeah, Seiya's rather jerk-ass personality might not be for everyone, but it creates a fun dynamic between him and his goddess companion. Plus, you do get to learn more about him and what brought about his cautious personality later on, so stay tuned for that. Overall, one of the more light-hearted isekai on the list, Cautious Hero is a show that I definitely recommend. Next up, we take you to Little Garden, a world of fantasy creatures governed by one rule. Conflicts are decided in the form of gift games. Black Rabbit has summoned our heroes, 3 teenagers with their own slew of attitude problems in the real world, to help deal with the ever-creeping threat from other factions. Sound familiar? Of course it does. Problem Children, as many people called it, can be viewed as a proto no game, no life. The key difference, however, besides the makeup of the main cast, can be seen in the protagonist. Whereas No Game, No Life had a super genius male protagonist, Problem Children's male protagonist is someone who prefers to punch his problems away. And who wouldn't when you've got the literal Imagine Breaker as your special power? Both protagonists have that smug, edgy flair regardless. Overall, Problem Children is a fun watch, but I think it suffered from being too short. 10 episodes is quite few even for modern anime standards. Plus, the isekai boom had yet to start when it aired, so there's that to keep in mind too. We're not leaving games quite yet because our next entry is Overlord. Nothing lasts forever. Even the most popular games will eventually meet their downfall and end. It may seem miles away, but it is inevitable. What happens when the harrowing time of partying finally comes and the last servers of a once beloved video game shut down? Momonga was a brave soul who decides to try it out only to find out that the end merely marks a new beginning when the denizens of the video game world come to life. Oh, and he's gotten a whole new lich appearance as well to complete the look. With demonic denizens looking to serve you and a surprising new power that allows you to do whatever you want, what is next to do? Conquest, of course. There's a whole new world to rule over and conquer, and the now rechristened Ainz only has his sights set on world domination. While it's not unpopular by any means, Overlord has seen better days. I mean, it's half a decade old, so that is to be expected. Still, with new seasons coming and picking up excitement every now and then, we can expect to see more and more of the ever-amazing Ainz and his loyal subjects. I'm particularly excited for the 4th season, which will be coming out later this year. A new blood, this year's Tsukimichi finds its way to the list. Tsukimichi can be seen as one of those meme shows. We have a protagonist banished for being ugly of all things. The meme harem is full of quirky characters, and while the plot's good, I feel that it, as well as the world building, are hardly the main focus or the draw of the show. It's all about how self-aware the show seems to be with playing with tropes and all the jokes that we've seen countless times in isekai. While not really reaching the popularity of something like Konosuba to be established as a face of a subgenre, it gets the job done well enough. At some points, it seems to be by the books, but isn't afraid to try something new once in a while. Just that it also tends to go back to playing safe in the comfort zone of most isekai quite often. If you want something with intense action sequences that have serious visual effects piled on top explosions and lots of shouting, you're probably looking for something else. However, if you're up for a funny isekai that doesn't take itself too seriously and seems to have fun parodying things, you can consider this part of your watch list. I hope you've been having fun with the anime recommendations so far. If you have, I also hope that you'll take the time to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel too. Amongst the isekai with overpowered leads, Ari Fureta is what I'd say the poster child for revenge stories looks like. Betrayed by his classmates and left to die, bullied kid Hajime has to crawl his way back up from the depths of the abyss. Oh, and along the way he turns into Kaneki by consuming monster flesh. Picks up a vampire waifu as he fights his way back to the surface too. With descriptions that wild, it's clear as day what Ari Fureta is trying to be. It's not trying to be pretentious or pretend that it's anything but a revenge story, a very edgy and toony one at that, but for me, that's part of the charm. The show knows its identity and goes full throttle with it. You got Hajime and his harem, which at some points looks like an edgy version of the Konosuba trio, taking on all challenges as they venture out to unlock the mysteries of the world. And nothing, not demon lords, nor armies numbering the thousands, not the most treacherous traps and monsters the dungeon can field, nothing can stand in their way. Season 1 did become infamous for its pacing issues and the laughable CG, but it's an enjoyable ride, and there's nowhere to go but up for the second season, which is airing very soon. This is one of the more anticipated shows this year, and I'm glad to say that it didn't disappoint. So, I'm a Spider, so what is pretty much what it says in the title. The protagonist dies, wakes up as a spider, and now she suddenly finds herself in one of the most intense fights for survival. Being a puny spider is not the easiest thing in the world, but when the rest of the world seems to be out to get you, that's difficulty turned to max. Before, I compared the series to Slime, but the good points of both series come from different areas. Yes, Kumoko does eventually become an overpowered character, and watching her journey was a joy. However, I feel that Kumoko doesn't have that underdog charisma. It could be the wittiness, but there's just something that makes you unable to resist rooting for Kumoko as the plucky heroine in her dangerous road to become strong. This is quite a middle-of-the-road isekai if I were looking at it from a critical lens, but it's a damn enjoyable one at that. Oh, and don't mind the CG that much either. We've just scraped the absolute bottom of the barrel of anime CG with Ari Fureta, so what could possibly go wrong with this one? Coming up is Drifters. Historical figures pulled from their timelines and brought together to do battle. No, I'm not talking about the Fate series. This is Drifters, one of the more underrated isekai out there. It really deserves more love, and I think a lot of you would love it. It's got the likes of Oda Nobunaga taking on Jeanne d'Arc in an insane battle royale of unprecedented proportions. It's as whack as it sounds, and it's a whole lot of fun. Edgy, dark and violent. That's what attracted the few to Drifters back when it aired, but I'd like to also give some appreciation to the comedic moments that serve to tell us not to take this show too seriously, giving much needed breaks between the combat scenes, which are for me some of the most glorious looking and intense I've ever seen in isekai anime. Come for the stylish fights, leave with some new knowledge on history. Sounds like a good proposition there, doesn't it, right? It's supposed to have more coming, and I'm excited to see more Drifters. Unfortunately, the project seems to be stuck in limbo right now, and that really is quite sad. Newer anime also make an appearance on this list, as seen with our next entry, World's Finest Assassin. Being an assassin has its perks and downsides. Whereas you get immense rewards for successful elimination of targets, you also perpetually get a crosshair on your back. Death can come for you anytime and anywhere, as our protagonist finds out. However, reincarnating in front of a goddess and given a second chance at life due to his skills while living, our hero is given his highest stakes assassination yet. The goddess brings him back as Lug, and his task is to eliminate a hero gone rogue. Assassin Isekai, as my friends and I call it, ended up becoming the surprise treasure of the fall season. Coming from the guy who made redo of Healer, we all expected some typical power fantasy with a lot of popcorn entertainment and fan service, but instead we got treated to one of the best Isekai 2021 had to offer. The characters, especially the girls who ended up having quite interesting backgrounds, thoroughly charmed us, and the ever-growing mystery about the goddess and Lug's quest had us anticipating more. It's a shame the anime covered so little ground because it's so good, but the anime team sure crafted the adaptation with love and care. All the more reason for everyone to check out the books or hope for a second season, which looks like it's gonna happen. Last but not least, we look at the time I was reincarnated as a slime. If there's a feel-good story in the world of isekai anime, I'd say that Slime is a contender somewhere. It's not that the show started out mediocre, not by a long shot. It started out quite intriguing and exciting, but when the second season came, everyone was quite simply blown away. The fight quality had gone up, the twists had become more high stakes, and of course, Rimuru became a lot stronger, officially making him one of the most overpowered characters of 2021. Honestly speaking, there's just some sort of magic with this show. At first glance, you'd really think it's a mediocre power fantasy isekai, but every episode just kept me wanting the next one. The fights are cool, and when the show decides to slow down and shift to social commentary mode, I also found myself wanting to know more. It may be nowhere as heavy and all in on that category as some of the more serious shows, but Slime still does the shift from power fantasy to dramatic social commentary decently well, considering its primary genre. If you're looking for an isekai with some of the most visually spectacular fights, Slime is probably your jam. Of course, if you're there to revel at the awesomeness of Rimuru or enjoy your healthy dose of fantasy world waifus, you can also pick this show up. Absolutely no regrets guaranteed. Now, let me ask you, which of the isekai shows is your favourite and why? Leave your answers in the comment section for everyone to see, and we can keep talking about isekai and overpowered protagonists all day. Perhaps the video got you interested in checking out the rest of what I have. In that case, don't hesitate to check out the rest of the channel to find more videos that might pique your interest. You can also support the channel through my Patreon and Instagram, both linked in the comment section if you want to. I hope that you'll have a great 2022 ahead. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.